Surely, as it was written long ago, the wicked flee when no man pursueth.
November Network and Neopolis Media Group proudly present to you the Lone Gunman Podcast, featuring your host, Rob Clark, where research comes to shine and myths come to die. Stay tuned. Be right there.
For this reason, I'm curious to know just how you supported yourself during the 3 years that you lived in the Soviet Union. Did you have a government subsidy?
I will answer that question directly then, since you will not rest until you get your answer. I worked in Russia. I was under the protection of that is to say, I was not under the protection of the American government, but that is, I was at all times considered an American citizen. I did not lose my American citizenship.
That's all, folks.
Oh yeah, what's up everybody, and welcome to the Lone Gunman Podcast, episode number 69. Yep, the old 69er is here. And so is my friend, Mr. Carmine Savastano. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, Rob?
Good. Now,
not much.
Now, everybody out there should know Carmine by now. If you haven't, he's been on the show a couple of times. Feel free to go back and re-listen to some episodes. But if you haven't heard about Carmine, everybody head over to tpack.com. tpaak.com. Check it out. He's writing a book. Hopefully it'll be out sometime this year or next, or hopefully, right?
Nice. Yeah, we're shooting for pre-release in November.
And it's all about the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and Martin Luther King. It's called Two Princes and a King. There's also a lot of research you can find on the site. Isn't that right?
Yep. We have not only do we have our own stuff, but we have a recommended section, so we can have you go to continue the research on your own if you want to as well.
Awesome. And you're also the proprietor of the Neopolis Media Group, which can be found on Facebook as well, right?
Indeed, sir. We're on Facebook, Google+, our Vimeo. We only have the one video, but we're working on it.
And that's
we're also on Twitter now, so slowly expanding our reach.
Sweet. Yeah, I just created an account on this new social media site called Minds, and it's very much in its infancy, but it has the potential to be something decent. It's like Facebook, but everything's totally encrypted, so your privacy is safe there. Your messages are safe there. It's supposedly unhackable, so we'll see. But so far so good. I like the way it works, and I got the show on Tumblr now, and I want everybody out there, if you follow me on Twitter, to go ahead and sign up and download a Twitter. I guess it's an augmentation of Twitter. It's an app called Periscope. And Periscope is a very, very cool app. What it allows you to do, it notifies everybody that's following you when you go live. Now, I can go live and do a video streaming session. And that'd be kind of cool to do, sometimes. So when I get enough followers on Periscope, I will do something. I promise. And whether it be I'll take you into the bookstore with me, we'll look at the JFK section, or we can do a review, or we can talk about the case, whatever it may be. It's kind of a cool thing, Carmine. You just pop up out of nowhere and do a random video streaming session.
Interesting. No, that sounds cool.
Yeah, and you can interact with people. They can message you while you're doing it, and you can see the messages right on your screen, and they can see me. I can't see them, but they can see me. And, it's just something different, something kind of cool,
Yeah. Well, the technology's definitely expanding in new ways.
Oh, most definitely. It's crazy. And only going to get crazier, I'm sure. Now, Carmine, why I wanted you to have you on the show, we've been wanting to do this show for a while now. We got derailed from it a couple months ago, I think. We got into doing something else, but I wanted to do a show concerning, of course, Oswald's defection to the USSR. And the reason why is that, there's lots of very odd events going, surrounding this whole defection thing, whether or not it was a personal decision that he made on his own for his own benefit, or if there was maybe a defector program that he was tapped for and he was actually sent there. And I know you sent me some documents to look over and everything. And the first one you sent me, I'd never seen before, and it's really eye opening. It goes through a list of defectors to Russia.
The 67 study.
Yeah, and what they said about Oswald when they were describing him, that made me chuckle a little bit. If you have that right there in front of you. Yeah, can you go ahead and read that?
Sure, yeah, I'll go over some of the stuff.
Okay.
Basically, this is a chart that the Central Intelligence Agency put together. It's a series of charts, and it compares Oswald to a lot of the defectors in the time around when he defected, before and after. So now this, I was proud to offer, as you know, on Facebook amongst other places for everyone to have a look at, because everyone that I had talked to believed that the earliest defector study was the House Select Committee on Assassination study that they did in the 70s. But this one I found inside the House Select Committee segregated files that was just buried away, that the CIA had run and never apparently made known to any of the later investigations.
So this was a CIA-backed thing here we're talking about.
Yeah. The CIA commissioned these studies in '67. I'm thinking perhaps if they needed, it's the same year that Garrison was around, so that might have had something. They might have been, they wanted to get as much information as they could on Oswald for whatever reason.
Gotcha. So what does this document tell us exactly?
Okay, well, Oswald, of those studied, of the Cold War defectors, actually, I'll go right into that in 1 second, just to make everyone familiar with what we're talking about. Defectors, I'm just going to give you a definition real quick. They're individuals that change allegiances from one entity to another, and they, in the process, end up abandoning their loyalties to a country, usually. There's military officials, intelligence staff, political figures, and tourists, which Oswald was considered.
Right.
They were less common preceding the Cold War, and the term became more common during the Cold War. The largest group of defectors were the Eastern Bloc intelligence defectors. So that's, those that came to the United States. Now, Oswald, the thing about Oswald is they call him a defector, but he never actually defected. He left, he went and resettled, so he is the classic definition of a defector, but they never actually let him revoke his citizenship.
Right.
So he still remained a citizen, unlike most of the defectors who either got a Soviet passport like Webster, or who actually got Soviet citizenship and revoked their American citizenship like Liberia or Riccardelli.
Right. So Russia just basically let him stay there, basically.
Yeah, he just hung out.
Yeah.
And I think it probably had something to do with the suicide attempt.
Yeah, me too.
They weren't sure exactly exactly what they were dealing with.
Right.
And they didn't want an international incident because they screwed up, and let him kill himself.
Right. Yeah, I think they wanted to keep an eye on him the whole time he was there. In fact.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Yeah. I think his apartment they gave him was wired for sound, wasn't it?
Yeah. They in one of the documents I was reading, it was saying that he barely did anything, whether it was a shower, no matter what he was doing, he was usually being watched.
Right.
But yeah, so going back to the document, Oswald was the youngest defector by at least 3 years, and he was born 16 years after most of the defectors that they were studying.
So most of the defectors went over at an older age than him, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
They were more established. I think he was fresh out of the military.
Right.
So he was 19 or 20, I believe.
Yep.
So 20, yeah. He was 20 when he defected, so he was 15 years younger than the average. The average person was 35.5. He was the only one born and bred in the South. Hamilton and Rick Cardelli, who are two of the other ones that I mentioned, they were in the South, but they were only there temporarily. And Martin was born in the South, but he resided in the North in his childhood. So Oswald was the only one that actually resided there the entire time.
So how many guys are we talking about here again? 37, you say?
Let me see. I think 25 is
25 is what they studied?
Yeah, 25 is in this study. Later on, I think it increases with the House Select Committee.
Okay.
Yeah, Oswald, it's basically the only occupation they give him is United States Marine Service.
Right.
And that's another thing. A lot of them had trouble with jobs. A lot of them are down on their luck type people, it seems, or people who are just tired of their life in America or just seeking some sort of change.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting how they went down and classified each of these guys into certain classifications like violent or aggressive or homosexual.
That was
Yeah.
another one.
Now, how did they describe Oswald? Because it was hard to. I think they described him as a Marxist. I know, but if you follow that line over,
Yeah.
they give a little description about his personality.
Well,
I think it said loner, aggressive. What was it?
here, let me go. Oswald Garland. Okay, so that would be.
I think it was the second page, right after the first one.
Yeah, loner, misfit, frustrated, aggressive.
Yeah. And there you have it, people.
That was exactly, and I definitely think that might have factored into the later stories that people often heard.
Oh yeah. Or that little analysis was based on.
Even in here, they state that 14 including Oswald, were mentally unbalanced. They call him mentally unbalanced. Now, I'm not saying Oswald is the picture of mental health by any means, but he didn't strike me as mentally unbalanced, especially when they're assessing him at the point of his defection. He's only 20.
Yeah, and to give Chuck Ocelli a quick plug here, he actually did an interview with Ernst Titovets last year, Oswald's best friend in Russia. And I'd recommend everybody go listen to it because it gives you a very good insight as to how Oswald was as a person in Russia. You know, he described him as having many friends, being very sociable, totally uncharacteristic of what we've heard about him before, you know?
Yeah, no, there's the classic, picture that a lot of people try to paint about him is not accurate. No one is one way all the time.
Right.
A person has dimensions.
Yeah, everybody does. It just depends on when you're looking at him. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, or how deeply you look.
Yeah. You catch somebody at a pissed off moment and call them aggressive, or you see them by themselves walking to the store. Well, now he's a loner. So,
Exactly. Well, yeah, he's a loner, who in New Orleans was home every night.
Right.
This family, the night before he supposedly is alleged to go and shoot the president, he's playing on the lawn at the Payne's house with his kids, and he's watching TV and turning in early. It doesn't sound like a loner.
No. Well, a lot of that stuff they try to say about him is just uncharacteristic, I mean, we have no evidence whatsoever that he was ever aggressive. I mean, Marina said he used to beat her around or whatever, but we don't have no evidence of it. We don't have no police reports. We don't have pictures with her eye black. That's not saying he didn't do anything, but we don't have proof of it,
Yeah. Well, we have her word, which is inconsistent sometimes when you look at the entirety of all of her statements.
Exactly. And nobody else has ever really put that on him as being some aggressive, asshole type personality that would fight at the drop of a hat or got bent out of shape.
Antisocial, I would give them antisocial because, he didn't operate in, normally in every social circle that he was in. He was aggressive sometimes as far as, not aggressive physically, but aggressive in confrontational, about politics and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you got two different pictures of him too. If you look at his time at the radio factory in Minsk when he was there, he had many friends. He was very sociable. He used to go to dances and he'd go hunting with him. He was very sociable, dude. Now, whether it had anything to do with the fact that he knew he was going to be there for a while, or he was in a strange country and was just trying to get to know people.
Living it up too, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then you have that contrasting with his interaction with the employees of the Texas School Book Depository, where many of them said that he never said much, he hardly ever engaged in conversation, and he mostly kept to himself and read the paper, which is a very stark contrast between his behavior in Russia and his behavior in Dallas right before the assassination. So who the hell knows? I mean, stuff happens in people's lives that is totally different,
Yeah. Well, I think the picture, you can paint a fairly accurate picture. It's going to be in the middle, I think, between the two. You've got the fringe on both sides. You've got the fringe commission supporters who are going to say he was the loner, he was the misfit, he was aggressive, he was Marine, all the worst things about him. And then you've got the supporters who are unrealistic and thinking that he's totally innocent and, he was a family man and he was great and, St. Oswald, as some people like to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, he could have been.
He was probably in the gray like we all are. He might have hit his wife. That wasn't uncharacteristic for the time.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he was a serial wife beater by any means.
No.
I don't think that he's not all the things that the commission tried to characterize him as. He wasn't obviously mentally imbalanced like some people tried to say.
Yeah, I mean, this is back before, not really women's equal rights and feminism and all that. It wasn't all Leave It to Beaver back then. It was things were kind of looked at in a different way, but not saying that's right either, but it is what it is, You better have my dinner on the table by 5 o'clock and it better be good.
It was, and the society, we've evolved as a society, but it's just, like you said, Marina made a lot of statements that, in one of the articles that I wrote, I talk about how in one of the FBI interviews a week later, she's already agreeing with the government saying that must be the way it happened and he's guilty.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure she was in a very unenviable position too, being a stranger in a strange land.
Yeah, but I mean, she doesn't, she probably also was under a lot of pressure. She had the Secret Service there. She had people exerting pressures on her, but I don't know. It just seems uncharacteristically quick.
Yeah, like a lot of things.
Investigation.
And, I'm sure we'll touch on this a little later too, but if Marina was something more than just an innocent girl, who met and married this guy in Russia, if she was possibly some kind of agent sicked on him to keep a closer eye on him, who happened to get knocked up and had to get married, and if that's true, and if our government knew that, how things worked, or they had an informant or something, then they had her by these short hairs. Basically, after the assassination, they could do with her what they wanted to do, have her say whatever they wanted her to say.
Yeah. No, there's definitely pressure that could have been exerted on her, and there are feasible reasons to believe why that is possible.
Oh, exactly. All right, so let's get back to this defection, man. So let's take it all the way back to the beginning here. When, of course, Oswaldkovich in the Marine Corps, and supposedly studying Russian literature and reading and this and that.
And shooting himself in the leg with his handgun.
Yeah. Well, he manages to get a hardship discharge in record time, right?
Yeah.
And he's sent back home, where he stays in Dallas with his mom for 3 days. And then he heads to New Orleans. And then he hops on a freighter and begins his long sojourn across Europe into Finland and finally into Russia. Now, my question is, how in the hell Oswald on his own would know about Albert Schweitzer College, where he told everybody he was going and applied to, how he would know the most circuitous route and quickest route into Russia. These are questions that need to be answered when we're looking at all this. I mean, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever to get out of the Marine Corps, come home for 3 days, and then set off for Russia.
Exactly. Well, and that's why, you've got the two schools of thought. You've got the one that say, well, it obviously means that he was a government agent, and then the other that says, well, it obviously means he had planned this for a long time ahead. And I don't think either one explains fully. And, there isn't evidence for either one to be the dominant idea. Because, yes, Oswald did plan some of these things. He obviously planned some of what he did. He didn't just come up with this stuff spur of the moment every time he did it. Like the interviews and the stuff that happened in New Orleans where he and Bernier got into the fight. Some of this was set up. And Oswald was not just some patsy in everything. He had to have some part in it.
Right. And, like I said, even now, to plan that trip now would be a gigantic pain in the ass to do.
Exactly.
And we have the internet.
Have some sort of knowledge of some sort. Like he came, I believe he went to France, then England, then Helsinki. And Helsinki was one of the few points of entry into the Soviet Union that was one of the best places to go through, because it was not Americans and British. From one of the documents I gave you, it says that they had recently complained that they are not paying attention to cases of British and American espionage in Finland, adding that the Soviets and Western espionage in Finland would be furnished with security police. So basically, they were focusing all their attention on the Soviets, and Americans could operate freely.
Right.
So not only was it a great place to get into the Soviet Union, but it just happened to be a place where all of the security was lax, and it made it even easier for an intelligence asset to slip through.
Yeah, which makes me think, or lean more, I guess, towards the idea that he was given a specific route to get into Russia, and not just some kind of spur of the moment, by his coattails kind of plan thrown together along the way,
Yeah. No, I think that it's totally reasonable to infer that from the circumstances. It's a lot of luck. That's a lot of luck that you're putting on. Not to say that it isn't possible. It is possible,
yeah.
But I don't think, as you know, I'm one of the believers in it's, more likelihood of being a small plot, if any plot. Now, it could have just been one person. I mean, it could have been someone who mentioned it to him in the Marines. It doesn't necessarily have to be an official, like some people want to believe that it is.
Right.
But anybody could have helped him with this route who had sufficient knowledge.
Exactly. And most likely someone in the Central Intelligence Agency, I'm guessing. Or in some intelligence service. I mean, they would...
Yep. Military, NSA, anybody. someone in the military with him at the time,
Right.
who might have known about this and just told him the information so that he was able to use it later.
Yeah. Found out he was interested in all this Soviet Russian stuff and said, look, man, you really want to go? Here's the easiest place to get into Russia, right here in Finland. You just got to get there, bro.
Yeah. And for people who think, some people are going to say that it's highly improbable that an intelligence officer would consider that. I'd like to go real quickly to the Kasaisen document.
Oh, yeah.
And the Kasaisen document states, it makes a little difference now, but Redwood, which was a code name for operations in Soviet areas in Moscow, had at one time an OI operational interest in Oswald. As soon as I heard Oswald's name, I recalled that as chief of the 6th branch, I had discussed sometime in summer 1960 with then chief and deputy chief of the 6th research station of laying out of interviews through KU Jump and other suitable channels. So yes, it's totally within the realm of possibility because there was a CIA officer who considered using Oswald because there was something called the Legal Travelers Program that they had already been undertaking that used people, tourists like Oswald.
Right, and you mentioned Redwoods there, and of course that's not the only program. We have Red Sox, Red Cap. We know now these little programs that the CIA was running to try to get defectors into Russia.
Mm-hmm. And another document that I sent you was the memo from Richard Helms, where he says there's operational interest in using defectors. So this is before and after they're still doing this.
Oh yeah, because everybody's got to remember back then. Okay, this was the Iron Curtain. They couldn't see. They didn't know what the hell was going on over there in Russia. Their borders were tight. They didn't let people in. Very very little intelligence was coming out of Russia at this time. That's why they were flying the U-2 over it, trying to gain intel. And most of the intel operations had to be done basically by infiltration. And that's just the way spycraft was done back then. It was a very hands-on, in-person kind of thing,
And defectors are not necessarily a thing of the past. All the way up until the end of the Cold War, there were defectors even into the 80s. That we had people going back and forth, switching sides. Sometimes another term is called a defector in place, where they'll actually, instead of defecting and coming to the country, they'll stay in their home country and just send information to the country that they're defected to. Right,
and it doesn't necessarily mean either that they either have to know that they're an intelligence asset, or maybe they do know, but
witting and unwitting.
It's just called debriefing. When somebody comes back like that, you just get them in a room and say, hey, we're just concerned about everything. We just want to make sure you're okay. We want to know what kind of stuff happened over there. Since you were over there, hey, help your government out. Here's a map. Why don't you plot on here, where the police station is. Maybe, tell us a little bit how life was over there. How the grocery store worked, or what people do for fun. Just Soviet life behind the Iron Curtain. It didn't really have to be, military intelligence. Like where.
Exactly, and that's exactly what they were in the Kasaisen document. It says we were particularly interested in the OI Oswald might offer, the operational intelligence Oswald might offer on the Minsk factory in which he had been employed in certain sections of the city itself.
Right, and for years we'd always heard that Oswald was not debriefed when he returned.
Which, according to 30 CIA assets and PBS, he was.
Yep.
And we know from other documents that he was as well. But that was denied for a long time. And another interesting thing is he was only one of 10 that was fully debriefed. Another one being Robert Webster, who was debriefed for 2 weeks, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably kept Oswald less time since he had a kid and a wife he had brought back with him. But, Webster comes back alone. They're going to lean on him harder, and press him for info.
Well, that's another interesting thing about Morena. She dated Webster as well.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, that, it's a little odd, given her background and her family over there. I think her uncle was, the equivalent of the FBI over here. Everybody likes to say KGB, but...
KGB associated.
Yeah, something like that. And, I remember reading somewhere that when she was...
It might have been the Soviet, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure we get it right. It was some government post, but I believe it was military or intelligence related.
Yeah. And this was her uncle, okay? And, her parents weren't in the picture at this point because something happened when Marina was, I think, 16. She got caught up in some bad situation where she was actually, I don't know if she was caught with or something bad happened with the Afghani ambassador. I think they were using her as a honeypot for that, and something happened with that, and which caused her to be sent to live with her uncle. And then she got into pharmacy school or whatever she was doing there, and then a little while later, miraculously, in a nation of millions, this young lady happens to actually meet and have relations with two American defectors. That's odd to me.
It is improbable.
Very improbable.
Yeah, that would work out exactly like that. And something else mentioned in the Kasaisen document is he states, at the time I was becoming increasingly interested in watching development pattern that we had discovered in the course of our bio-research work in 6. The number of Soviet women marrying foreigners, being permitted to leave the USSR, then eventually divorcing their spouses and settling down abroad without returning home. The Ocean 3 case was among the first of these, and we eventually turned up something like 24 similar cases. We established links between some of these women and the KGB. KUDS became interested in the developing trend we had come across. It was partly out of curiosity to learn if Oswald's wife would actually accompany him to our country, partly out of interest in Oswald's own experience in the USSR, that we showed operational intelligence interest in the Harvey story.
Yeah, and what was going on at the time of the assassination? You had the beginnings of what could possibly have led to a divorce. You have them living apart, not getting along well. And you have this wedge, Ruth Payne, and, possibly DeMorne Shield before her, seemingly start to drive these wedges in between the Oswalds.
And as people like to say, there is no direct evidence that I have seen anyway that links Ruth Payne to the Central Intelligence Agency. But her sister, Sylvia Hyde-Hokie, was an employee of the Central Intelligence Agency. Her father was an informant of the Central Intelligence Agency.
Yep, and
her husband had a job at a secure government company.
Right.
There are reasons to think, I'm not saying that the Paynes necessarily have anything nefarious, but there are plenty of reasons to think that it's possible.
Yeah, that they were brought with something to the table, like, hey.
Even unwitting.
Yeah.
Perhaps Ruth was unwitting.
It's called plausible deniability. You get somebody.
Yeah, just talking around the table, your sister asks you some questions about the people that are living with you. That doesn't necessarily mean you think that you're working an intelligence mission.
Right. Just the, but the circumstances, around them meeting the Paynes at about the same time, DeMorne Shield left, and how, let's see, because I was reading, Oswald's timeline, and when Ruth Payne took Marina to New Orleans in 1963, she stayed with them for 3 weeks before she went back to Dallas. So this woman's making an incredible time commitment to making sure that Marina is either okay or, or what she's doing, or setting her up to, I don't know. It's all very odd,
Yeah. No, it's strange, and it's, again, kind of like with the defection and him finding the proper route to get in, one of the best routes to get into. It's improbable that it should keep happening. That, just that there are so many people that keep helping them is strange.
Yeah, exactly. And when the Oswalds were in Russia, okay, we know it's a communist society. Okay, it was what it was. You didn't have to pay for health care or anything like that. Not even a place to live. You just worked, and everybody got their little everybody got equal wages or whatever it was. You know what I'm saying? The Oswalds weren't hurting. They were actually living pretty good in Russia.
Well, yeah, because they had given through the Red Cross, which was basically the Soviet government, but they gave him a nice stipend, and I think the Soviets saw him as perhaps potential to embarrass America, so they were treating him good to keep him happy.
Right. And if he's an idealistic guy, if he's interested in Marxism, and he actually went to Russia to check out communism and how it was over there, maybe compared to the way he grew up, where they actually he didn't have to actually work. He was taken care of most of the time until he went into the Marine Corps, and even in the Marine Corps he's taken care of, really. And he goes to Russia where he's taken care of, okay, and then they come back to the United States, and he's faced with the very real dilemma of having a wife and a child that he has to, actually provide for now. He's not getting handouts. He's not getting help. He doesn't go to the grocery store and they don't give him a loaf of bread and a bag of potatoes. And, he's got to work for everything he gets now. And he's running into various roadblocks along the way when it comes to gainful employment, I think, which it could possibly be motivation for him to be caught up in something, a little extra money.
Well, and yeah, no, it just affected political or idealistic, person, the mentally unstable. If you go into the document we talked about before, the CIA assassination guide, that they actually suggest that you use someone like that because they're easily discredited.
Right. I mean, because when he came back, it would have been the first time that he would actually have to fend for himself. And not only is he defending for himself, he's got to fend for a family now. And he's got another kid on the way. So now it's time to start, getting your shit together and try to make a good life for your family, just like anybody would.
Yeah. Well, and Russia was an utter failure too. He went over there. I think Oswald went over there with archaic ideas of Marxism and communism. He was going over there with that 1917 almost revolutionary Marxism idea, the original Karl Marx philosophies, when this is, post-Stalin.
Yeah, the utopian society.
It was changing. It wasn't the same as the books he had read and, idealized that it was going to be like. He ended up complaining about that Russia had fat bureaucrats like America had fat party bosses. So, it's the same thing. He realized that he had basically lied to himself and built this place up, which is why I think that it's possible that he himself went over there as a tourist. He might have gotten aid in various ways, whether it was direct aid or he informationally found out some of these things. But I think that he definitely was a part of why he went over there. He had this idealistic dream, whether he was operating to provide intelligence later or whether he was just going over there to find, his dream. He eventually became disillusioned. Like you said, he got forced back into the very real circumstances of poverty, where there was no more gravy train. And he was, even when he was here, he was still acting with the archaic ideas of Marxism. When he did the interview, he didn't really describe Marxism. He went into other analogies to basically try to cover his lack of apparent knowledge of the subject matter.
Right. And also, he, at about that time in early '63, he started writing letters to the embassy trying to get Marina home. And then it eventually, a couple months later, became both of them trying to get home. Or not home, but both back to Russia.
Yeah.
Which seems odd to me. Like maybe he had enough here in his short time back and was like, okay, I don't like this very much. I'd much rather live an easy lifestyle and in a commune atmosphere, where everything's shared and everybody has their job and their place and, go back to that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, and I think that, I think the letter when he wrote to Robert Oswald, he talked about the good, warm people and, they want to see people live in peace and, they don't want to see people economically enslaved. he went over there with a lot of ideals that I'm sure were quickly broken down by the time he, because I can't remember who had made an issue of it, but someone had said that Oswald talked about how even with the extra money, there was not really much to spend it on in Russia.
Right.
Because everything was given away. There was no, economic system like over here, the glitz and glamour stuff to spend your money on.
Yeah. He grew up a certain way and got enamored, possibly from a distance with a different way of living. And then when he faced that reality, wasn't too enamored with it then. And, wanted the idea of maybe going back to the way things were and that it would be better. And then he got here and he was disillusioned again and wanted to go back,
Mm-hmm.
It's very odd, man. Very odd.
Yeah, no, the defection itself is strange, and then just the return, you got the State Department loan, which is odd, considering that part of the requirements for the State Department loan was loyalty to the United States, which, if he's a defector, how is he loyal to the United States?
Right. Now, I guess we should explain, too, how he technically wasn't a defector. I think he showed up he showed up at the embassy on a Saturday and renounced his citizenship. And they didn't really do business on Saturdays, so basically the guy there just threw his passport in his desk and held on to it.
Schneider, I believe was his name.
Yeah. And you know how these embassy guys are. These are all CIA guys,
Well, yeah, he was actually, a former employee of the Central Intelligence. That's another interesting thing, is how Oswald keeps running into members of the Central Intelligence Agency and the Federal Bureau of Investigation over and over.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can understand why, U.S. embassy workers in Russia at the time are going to be some kind of intelligence operatives, I'm guessing,
Well, yeah, no, and that was common on both sides. The KGB and the GRU, which was like a predecessor to the KGB, did similar things, where there would always, in all the consuls across the world, the CIA always assumed that at least the second or third level people in the embassy were going to be intelligence operatives.
Right, and they watched their asses. It wasn't like these embassy workers could just have the run of America. They understood this and they were watched, I'm sure, and bugged and everything else.
Well, yeah, there was one case, even, in some of the strange ways that they would try to watch each other, the CIA actually filed legal charges against the Russian government because they were having operatives that got sick because they were being marked with this radioactive dusts that the Russians would have people throw on them so that they could follow them to see where they went.
Right. Now, when it comes to a little bit more, now, I was reading about this guy, Carmine, Otto Otepka. He was doing his own investigation as, I think he was the head of security for the State Department on these defectors in the early 60s. And the interesting story about Otepka was when he started getting and diving in more about this Oswald guy, he kind of stood out from everybody else, and it really rose a lot of questions for Otepka. Now, people like Bobby Kennedy, Walter Sheridan, and other people within the Department of State there, I mean, they were, this guy was digging. They eventually demoted him and made his life a living hell for even trying to dig into Oswald's past and what his defection really meant, which is a big red flag for me. I mean, if it was just some innocuous, random guy just defecting to Russia and, they weren't using him for intelligence purposes, then I don't believe they would have had to go through all these hoops, to discourage Otepka and, bug him and steal his files out of his safe and demote him out of a position of power and replace him with one of Bobby's guys. Just very odd timing of things there, and it doesn't get much, get much shine in the research community.
Yeah, no, I I think that, we definitely have to consider the fact that, like I was saying earlier about the differences between the people who automatically decry Oswald the villain and Saint Oswald. Same with Bobby Kennedy and all these people. They're just people. They all made mistakes. They all had bad intentions sometimes. They didn't always do everything according to the code that we would hope that they did. Bobby Kennedy was a good man in some respects, but he was also a politician. And he realized that if, this person, Otepka, that you were talking about, or anyone got too deeply into the Defector programs, that they could stumble onto the legal travelers program that the agency was running, where they were actually using tourists and, not necessarily defectors, but people that were abroad to get information, like you were saying, these people were unwittingly penetrating and getting information for them in some cases, and sometimes they were witting and they just offered the information up to them, like de Mohrenschildt had.
Right, because there have been a lot of people that just visited Russia, and saw the sights and came home. Not many.
Mm-hmm.
Some people that were there on business, for a week or two and then came back. They most likely talked to those kind of people too.
But that could have been revealed. Those programs could have been revealed, and then probably even more of concern to Bobby Kennedy, the CIA Castro assassination plots could have been revealed. And his part in allowing some of those to occur initially.
Right, but
which would have been politically disastrous.
Yeah. I mean, the logical thing when you're coming to, things like that is that we did do it, We did things like that. Even, I mean, look what they did to, who was that guy that from Russia that defected in the mid-'60s? Was it Necheprenko or? Yuri Nosenko. I mean, man, they had that dude hold up forever, just torturing the shit out of him and, trying to get information out of him, trying to figure out if he was legit or not, Until,
and that was because I believe Antonin Galatzin, a prior defector, had warned them that there would be people that would come after him that would try to discredit him and be sent by the KGB. And Nishenko, unfortunately, had the privilege of being that guy.
Yeah.
That got the full brunt of. And, we have to go back. I think that, it also goes in the prior defectors back in the 50s. Kim Philby, who was one of the Cambridge Five, one of the British SIS defectors, and he had been friends with James Angleton.
Yep.
And he had, I think he was definitely because Angleton looked up to Philby and people from his generation.
Yeah.
And I think that influenced Angleton's obsession with communism and why, people said that he got lost in the wilderness of mirrors.
Yeah.
Because he had been betrayed by his friends. He had seen communism, attacked all of the things that he held dear, so he just went over the edge.
Yeah.
And decided that everything was a communist plot.
Yeah, I mean, and this was the guy that determined that he was, in charge of counterintelligence. He was determined who was legit and who wasn't for the CIA. And
exactly.
He wasn't, and like you said, Philby was his boy, and look what happened,
Mm-hmm. Well, and Philby, I think, the defectors can be disastrous either way, east or west, for whatever side they had helped. But Philby's a special case, because Philby was not only a defector, he was a mole, because he got recruited by the communists when he was still in college. So he went into his job with the British intelligence already serving them.
Right.
And he just did as much damage as he possibly could.
Yeah. And guys like that are the worst because, they're looking to appease, not just two sides, but three sides. And, God knows what he's telling each side, if it's true or not. But, those are the guys that can do the most damage, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, moles are definitely the people who are true believers, which I think is something that, you can use to distinguish between Philby and Oswald are almost exact opposites. I mean, just beyond personality, Philby being more well-educated and fairly intelligent than Oswald. But, but the one thing that they do share is that they were disaffected by their societies for whatever reason. Their idealism did not go with the country that they were in. so they decided to go elsewhere. Philby was an actual intelligence officer. We can prove all the things that he did.
Right.
With Oswald, it's more in the gray area. We don't know. We don't know how much of it was his personal want to do these things for his idealistic purposes, and how much of it maybe he was influenced or was unwittingly made to do this.
And that's a good point. And that's a very good point, because I touched on it in the last episode, but I just wanted to reiterate that maybe, that just maybe, maybe that this guy was he was idealistic, okay? He was interested in politics. He was interested in foreign policy. He was interested in political systems. Now, people like that don't necessarily pick up a gun to change things. And they do what Oswald was doing. They go on the radio and debate people. They'll talk about it in the streets. They'll hand out flyers. They'll go to rallies. They'll go make speeches. They try to change policy verbally, non-violently. And that's why I was saying, it's just so uncharacteristic that Oswald would eventually settle upon grabbing a gun in order to change things. When in fact,
especially with so little time to do it.
Yeah, and in fact, not really change anything. You know what I'm saying? But make it worse.
Yeah, that's another whole host of problems that he has to do everything, especially and develop a motive in 48 hours or less. But that aside, it's all problematic. It was never an open and shut case, and I think that's why we still have so many debates going on, and people just not understanding that the only way we're going to finally answer these questions is if we can build a preponderance of evidence, and if we can see that a real investigation happens.
Yeah, and get all the files we need to do it correctly.
Yeah, and I think really it's just it's a matter of getting through them. Some of us are going through and doing our best to get as much as we can, but there's a ton of files that just haven't been read, and I think that a lot of people are really concerned about the files that are supposedly going to be released in 2017, which I am not very hopeful about because they've already pushed it back twice.
Yeah.
So I don't see them not pushing it back again. That wouldn't surprise me if they did that. And let's just say that they do release everything in 2017. I don't think there's going to be a smoking gun in there. I don't think they're just going to hand us a smoking gun.
No, there might be some interesting tidbits.
That's going to be damning. Chances are it's already out there. It just hasn't been seen or read.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of stuff out there already that's pretty damning on its own, but we don't have the whole picture. It's just a piece of this, a piece of that, and I guarantee you, everything that was released, back when the ARRB was the JFK Records Act was done. I'm sure there's still stuff out there that hasn't even been looked at yet. Because people just don't have time to go sit in the archives and barrel through all these damn documents, looking for the needle in the haystack. It's just nobody has that kind of time, and they know that.
Exactly, and that's what they were always counting on. The only reason why I think we've started to make progress in some ways, I respect all of the contributions of the people that I call the old guard, the last generation of researchers, and I respect the contributions of a lot of the new reliable researchers. But I think that progress is starting to be made because, they couldn't. You can't expect that all of those people were going to spend their entire lives. If someone spent their entire life from graduation of high school till they died, chances are you still wouldn't be able to read everything.
No, and your brain would
It's going to be
melt.
a team effort. It's going to take people who have read the right things, who have focused on the right areas, bringing them together to put the puzzle together.
Yeah, even going back to John Armstrong's book, Oswald and the CIA, that was released a couple years after the JFK Records Act came out, and it was, compiled from documents, newly released documents. And there's a lot of good ones in there, and but by no means is it complete.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it just barely scratches the surface. And then, unfortunately, you've got the whole, me and Lee thing we've discussed before.
I forgot the case was solved already.
He did some good research and it's overshadowed by that.
Yeah, I forgot they'd already solved the case.
Yeah.
What are we even still talking for? I mean,
how many
shit.
people have said that before too? I bet you we could write a book and fill it with just the names of people who've said they solved the case already.
Oh, we've got definitive proof because this crazy lady said so. Don't you know? Oh my God. All right, so is it?
I once worked at Burger King for a month with Lee Harvey Oswald.
Oh, I gave him a ride. I picked him up here. I took him there.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just, like I was saying before, man, it's just, things get so twisted over all this time, passed down from researcher to researcher, and disseminated across the internet, that it's just, it's a job unto itself just to untangle the mess and get back to the primary documents.
Keeping the shit shoe level.
Yeah.
is a chore.
And right now we're up to our necks in it,
Yeah.
And that's why we're here, people. We're just trying to, grab a shovel and and dig all the shit away.
Around an area.
Yeah. Oh man. So is there anything in these documents that we haven't got to yet, Carmine?
I think that's everything. I think we covered. That was one of the things. I know that we had already. Oswald actually made a second attempt to denounce the citizenship. If you look in the timeline too, and they didn't allow him to, which I always thought was just a very interesting point. What I always, I haven't been able to ascertain it from the limited amount of files we have directly, but I wonder how many other defectors that ever happened for. How many other defectors did they not allow to revoke their citizenship twice?
Yeah, that's a little odd. And hell, I don't even know that if, okay, say you go over there and you do renounce, they allow you to renounce your citizenship. Is there a possibility to ever get back once you do that?
Oh yeah,
that's what I think.
That actually happened with one person, Libero Riccardelli. That happened with. He renounced his citizenship, and his family, but his family wouldn't. But he renounced his citizenship. He did get Soviet citizenship.
Right.
But then his family left, and he decided he was going to come back because he was unhappy, and he had mental problems. And they sent him back, and he abandoned the Soviet citizenship and then reapplied for U.S. citizenship and got that.
Oh, okay. So it's just a bureaucratic, basically, a bureaucratic matter at that point.
It should be harder.
Well.
And if, that's what goes back to the State Department loan with Oswald. He's not loyal. He's obviously not loyal. You're calling him a defector. He tried to renounce his citizenship twice. Why in the world would you give him a loan?
Yeah, come on back. And not stick him in a dungeon for 3 years and try to figure out if they turned him or not.
Bring your family. Bring your family and your kid, too. That's fine.
Unbelievable. And I know what we didn't hit on. How long did it take for Marina to get to
Nitus. Well, there was a lot of going back and forth, as you know, throughout the process where they were wrangling with American and the State Department was wrangling with the INS and, they were wrangling with the Russian officials. But eventually, once all the paperwork got through, Marina submitted for her passport and she got it the same day that she submitted.
The same day.
Which is strange. That's a very quick processing time. Oswald, I think it took at least even a few days in Russia to get his paperwork okay. But with Marina, the same day they issued it. And, there are other documents that I've seen that I'm going to talk about in the book and that, I've talked to you about a little bit, but there are other documents that show, too, that they were also giving her advice, what country that they should leave through so that they would get the most beneficial laws to facilitate them getting to the United States.
And this is Russia telling her that?
No, this is the United States government telling the Oswalds the best paths for them to come back.
Gotcha. Wow. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here.
And they try to say that it's because they don't want Oswald to embarrass the United States and it could be an international incident, which maybe for some people it could, but that is a lot of work. A lot of time spent on this nobody. That just seems rather strange.
And how in the hell did he get the money to pay back his brother $400 and some so quickly?
And he paid back the U.S. government, too.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of hard to do when you're making $1 an hour back then, and you still got to live.
Well, yeah. Yeah, you got to pay for a family, and apparently you're renting these other rooms, and...
Wow.
Yeah, no, the money question definitely is one to be asked.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you think that the U.S. government, if he was giving them, if he was, willfully giving up information to help them out, that they would return the favor, possibly monetarily, and help him get settled and get started and get back, repatriated and get back into American life, You'd think that'd be something that they would do if he had helped them out. At least that's what I would have bargained for that. I've been like, look, I'll tell you everything I know, but you got to help a brother out, okay? Because I don't have a pot to piss in right now.
Yeah, it's also the inference when you add everything together. Just from what we've discussed in this episode, that's a whole lot of improbabilities. So how much more improbable does it become when you put them all together and you see just this chain of strange events?
Yeah, when you take a step back and look at the complete picture of, the Oswald story and the assassination, it's just, like you said, it's just another seemingly randomly favorable occurrence for Lee Oswald and company,
And it's the shift is also noteworthy. When you look, you see that, he made all these mistakes and his life was a series of unfortunate incidents, and then for some reason the universe shines upon him for 48 hours and he seemingly cannot make a mistake.
Yep.
All the way until the assassination's done.
Exactly.
And then he becomes Oswald again.
Yeah, and the reason we're talking about this, people, is just this little scenario, this little important scenario of this whole defection thing could possibly be the reason that the government is hiding, are covering their ass and hiding files and possibly destroying files and covering things up is because of this stuff. It's national security stuff, supposedly, from 50 some years ago, but could that, alone be motivation enough for them to deep six this guy after the assassination and try to cover their ass?
I think that's totally within the realm of possibility, and I think it's still a reason why they would keep files classified today. Maybe there are programs that we haven't even begun to imagine that they were running on the Russians, and they don't want the current Russian government to find out about it.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, God knows. I mean, they were doing everything back then, when it comes to MK Ultra type stuff, probably genetic experiments and God knows what else,
Yeah. Paperclip and some of the other things where the Nazis, doctors were brought over here and the scientists with their rocket technology.
Yeah, Mengele with his genetic, stuff. Who the hell knows, man? Just keeps getting weirder and weirder,
Yeah, and I think it's good too that we discuss that there are there's still nefarious reasons, but they don't have to necessarily be the reasons that most people would attribute to them. Not that it's some big plot directly tied to the Kennedy case, but it's all these peripheral illegal actions that the government was taking that also need to be hidden.
And that Oswald had the right kind of patsy backstory.
Exactly.
To make the whole thing plausible.
Turned at the very end.
Yeah. And then they go into cover their ass mode.
Mm-hmm. And that is to be expected in every scandal. Whenever you look at any government scandal, the perpetrators don't necessarily have some large group helping them. They just count on the fact that they can do something and the rest of the government will have to fall in line and go into damage control.
Yep. I mean, it kind of makes sense when you step back and think about it. And, doesn't necessarily mean Oswald was up on the 6th floor shooting people, okay?
No.
You know, it just means that he had the correct pedigree of someone that they could pin this on. Someone believable to the American citizens and the world that, hey, this guy could have done it and most likely did do it. Doesn't necessarily mean he did it, okay? But he had the correct backstory and pedigree and ideals that made him the perfect patsy. Just like he said he was.
And you know, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Just like he said he was. I'm just a patsy.
Yeah, and you know, this could be I've always tried to say, you know, they could be right, those people who disagree with us in this case. I don't think so. I think that a lot of the evidence shows a feasible conspiracy occurred. But, you know, if they're wrong, it doesn't have to be the big plot, like I've said before, that people try to make it. This could be a few people. You know, this could be just someone who told him to be at the right place at the right time. Someone else fired the shots, and that's it. It doesn't have to be, you know, the big, huge Illuminati-esque plot that some people want to make it.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, when you look at a plot of something of this magnitude to kill a president of the United States in broad daylight in a motorcade, I mean, it's going to be planned very efficiently. It's going to be very compartmentalized, you know, where a lot of people wouldn't know exactly what the other hand's doing. And there's going to be plausible deniability, so it could not ever get back to those who actually gave the okay and planned this thing. You know, they're going to look, you know, when you're planning a crime like this, you know, you're going to need somebody to pin it on, first and foremost. So the suspicion doesn't eventually make its way back to you. You know, you want the police to get their guy, and that's it. Even more convenient if the guy dies in custody and he never sees his day in court. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yes,
that's it for the investigation. Yeah. You know, that's it for the investigation. It's over. That's your guy. You know, and nobody ever looks any further except us. But it's kind of hard to do that when we still don't know everything. You know, and we're still looking and we're still trying to piece everything together from what we do get. You know, we're like trying to put this puzzle together, and they only give us a couple pieces every year to do it. So.
Exactly. But we're getting there.
We're getting there.
Each new piece of evidence is a new piece in the puzzle.
You got that right. All right, Carmine, I think we covered it pretty good today, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for having me back, Rob. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for coming back on, man. I know you're still hurting, but I appreciate it. Everybody out there appreciates it, and you get better, buddy. Okay?
I will. Thank you. Do you care if I do a quick plug?
Plug away, sir.
If everyone out there, please, if you get a chance, go to tpac.com, tpaak.com. You can find Neapolis Media Group. At the TPAC site, you can find our YouTube button. You can find all of our social media buttons. You can see the link to the Lone Gunman podcast, the Ocelli Effect, and Debunked blog. Also, if you have an opportunity, please, on Facebook, check out the Neapolis Media Group Facebook page. That's facebook.com/NeepMG, capital MG at the end. Check out the Lone Gunman podcast page and like that as well, and the Ocelli Effect radio group, and Chuck Ocelli journalist page as well.
Awesome. And also, I got good news, buddy. I got over 500 followers on Spreaker here recently. We just cracked that plateau. Great. And 100 likes on the Lone Gunman Facebook page. So those are two big plateaus. Milestones we've reached there, and that's great, man. And I just want to thank everybody out there that's continued to like and support the show, and share it and help out financially. You know, everything is appreciated. And I was able to actually purchase recently a new pair of headphones that I can use mobily, so that my shows will now sound better when I can't sit in front of a computer and actually do them. And that's all thanks to you guys, and you will reap the benefits probably starting out on the next show. So thank you, everyone that continues to support the show. You can support the show by heading over to tlgpodcast.com, There is a donate button. There are links there where you can shop Amazon through my page, and it'll help out the show, or hit the vape store there and shop there, and it'll help out the show that way. Or just continue to like our stuff and share links, people. That's what it's all about. We want new eyes on this stuff, as many as we can get. So if you like what we're doing, just, drop a link on your page. Say, hey, I'm listening to the Lone Gunman podcast. Hey, here's a link. Check it out. You might like it too. Or, I visited tpack.com and I like it. And you might too. And like I said, Chuck Ocelli over at ucy.tv/TOE, still doing his thing. He's got a lot of good shows in his archives when it comes to JFK interviews. And check out my buddy Doug over at the Dallas Action. He's cranking them out on a weekly basis now. That's good to see. And my buddy Will on Twitter at JFK Prime Source is doing it up big there too. And also a quick shout out to the White Mamba on Twitter at Obi Ren Kenobi. He wanted a shout out, and there it is, my friend. Thank you for being a longtime supporter of the Lone Gunman podcast. I do appreciate it. That's it, people. Hope you enjoyed this number 69 today, and we'll be back next week with number 70, people. This sumbitch is in the can, beamed up to satellite, down directly to your ears. This is your boy thanking Carmine Savastano for coming back on the show today. Y'all have a wonderful day. This is your boy. Peace.